Former Labor Senator Stephen Conroy for the day's top stories. Now, Steve, it's good to see you. So, Sam Mostyn, a Republican who gets the top job for the King, who's representative here in Australia, then on top of that gets a $200,000 pay rise. Does that all seem all good to you?
Well, look, I don't think it matters whether Sam is a Republican or not. Sam will be an excellent person to perform the functions of the Governor-General.
I'm sure all of that's true. But, I mean, is there not any red flags there?
Look, not in terms of, being a Republican. I think that's a completely spurious and irrelevant point. The argument about the pay rise being proposed is, and I haven't seen the sort of draft memorandum or any of the documentation. It's probably been quite a few years since the Governor-General got a pay rise.
40%. I assume that's a big one.
Yeah, my natural assumption was it was done by the remuneration tribunal, like politicians' salaries, judges, etc. So I had never bothered looking into how the Governor-General's pay was set. I just assumed it was part of the tribunal process. So it's probably been a few years since there was any increase, and the role of Governor-General's an important one. They represent the country overseas on many occasions, and increasingly they've played more of a pastoral role, and you can see that from the things that David Hurley did and his predecessors. So I think if you look at what the job was when that pay rise was set and what it's become today, I probably the case for an increase, but I'll wait for more details from the government.
All right, yeah. Well, look, Matt Kean said this earlier, and he's certainly not alone on this, that it doesn't pass the pub test. And something else that doesn't pass the pub test is Matt Kean becoming the climate czar for the government after initially being all for nuclear, but now he's a climate czar with the federal government. He's against it.
Well, look, I can understand why the opposition have got serious reservations. He was an individual that was despised by the right wing of the Liberal Party because of his positions on climate. And as he's correctly pointed out, he didn't advocate for, and when he was given advice, didn't support the introduction of nuclear power plants in New South Wales. He is well known and despised by the right wing of the Liberal Party for his strong credential support and pushing of the climate issues. I mean, I think he pushed a little too fast on closing a couple of coal-fired power stations, and to his credit, Chris Minns has said, no, I think that was the wrong place to be.
Yeah, well, he's been called Turnbull 2.0 this morning by some unnamed sources.
Look, that's just reflects the deep divisions that the Liberal Party have had. I mean, as they keep lurching further and further away from climate issues, they're very close to becoming outright denialists again. I mean, their policy involves coal-fired power stations somehow magically being kept open so that in 2040 they can put about 4% of the total amount of power into the grid and claim that in 2040 prices will be down. I mean, this is a comical position. What it's really about is sabotaging the rollout of renewables. And Australians will see through that over the next 6 months between now and the next election, that this isn't actually serious policy.
Just a final, speaking of policy, final one, this is on vapes, and Mark Butler is watering down his legislation to get the Greens on board. Does that make it half-baked? Would he be better off just parking it?
Well, look, he's been forced to do this because Peter Dutton has just failed to show leadership. I mean, he's got the National Party who are bizarrely in almost coalition with the Greens, and they've dragged the Liberals who've traditionally been supportive of clamping down on the vapes, and they've abandoned the field again. So Labor's been forced to try and do something to limit this scourge, and the only option on the table was to deal with the Greens because Peter Dutton once again can't stand up to the National Party. It's quite disappointing to see.
All right, Stephen, we'll leave it there. Appreciate it, though.